My Michelle Live podcast.
My Michelle Live. My Michelle Live. Sports timeout. The fans,
Yeah.
the field, the faith, the fun. Here's Michelle.
I'm here, but not alone. I'm here with the team. It is time for sports.
Sports.
Yes, it is. Guys, welcome to another week of sports. We have with us our roundtable of fellas. This is the team today. We have Pastor, Coach. He has also been a chaplain for the Seattle Sounders, which is one of my favorite things. I can't imagine how cool that is. We'll have to talk about that sometime. And my friend Garrick Payne, Rich Hallstrom, he is our sports encyclopedia and co-author of Thunder Sports Network. Brent Baker, you may have heard him from this week's news and views. I'm sorry, our Tuesday broadcast. We're talking science and technology. He's the author of Breaking Yesterday. He is a sports photographer and reporter. Yes, he is Brent Baker. Joshua McMillan, he's our tech guy for My Michelle Live. He's also one of our man on the street guys. He is our sports authority and he is a cool guy. And then we have a friend of mine from high school who's made a name for himself in football and has come back to hang out with me. Coach Tom Fisher, this is our roundtable today. Guys, happy Blue Friday.
Happy Blue Friday,
Happy
Michelle.
Blue Friday.
Oh,
Happy
so
Blue
really
Friday.
It's been
guys, for me, this is the glory days of the year for sports. We if we only had rugby, it would be a perfect time of the year. But guys, I want to start this sports time out
I
with
got the background for it. I don't know anything about the Seawolves, but I got their background.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about the
You should see my
Seawolves.
Zoom, but
Can I just say, if you are new and you don't know that there is Major League Rugby in the United States of America, it is fairly new. And since we come to talk about sports from a Seattle kind of point of view, the Seattle Seawolves have won their shield the first couple inaugural years. They are the team to look for, and there will be rugby starting next year. But I wanted to go very quick around the round table with your favorite sport, just to set the stage, let people know us a little bit more. Josh, you're not allowed to say marbles, but for me, it's both kinds of football to watch and to play volleyball. Brent.
boy, that's tough because especially covering high school sports, I had to cover all of them. But I think to watch American football, college basketball, baseball.
Okay.
That
Garrick
didn't narrow
Payne.
it down at
I
all.
know, just narrow it down. But hey, consider I covered golf, I covered soccer, I covered swimming, I covered volleyball, so
Okay, so we can
there's
give
a
you
lot of
some leeway. We can give you some leeway. Garrick Payne.
I've played pretty much every sport, but easily, hands down, no question. You probably guessed. As a matter of fact,
Soccer.
I played last night. So
There you go. All right, Rich Hallstrom.
Pro football and Paralympic sports.
Amen. Amen, brother.
Oh,
Coach Fish. Favorite
well,
sport?
obviously football and wrestling, and I like college basketball.
Hey, by the way, tomorrow, if you're listening to the podcast in our entertainment review, I'm sorry, not tomorrow, next week. We're going to wait till next week to get this guest on, but there's a brand new wrestling movie that will be out on the 8th. It is like Hoosiers on the mat. It's called The Last Champion. We'll talk about it next week. Joshua McMillan, can't say marbles. What's your second favorite sport?
Marbula One Racing. Well,
Okay. Right. Come on.
I mean, my favorite to watch is football. I mean, I love it. I love the hitting. I mean, I got to play a little bit. Did some Turkey Bowl over the weekend with a couple of friends. We just played flag. I keep telling them, why don't we get to play tackle? And they said, well, Josh, because you're too big and you're going to hurt someone. So apparently I'm relegated to flag football, but I love watching football, professional college. And baseball is not necessarily my favorite to watch, but it's my favorite to listen to on the radio. I love listening to a baseball game on the radio, especially like if I'm working on a project, like working in the yard or in the garage. I love listening to baseball while doing that kind of stuff. It's so great. The little stories you get, from our casters out there. And it's just a nicely, slow paced game that you can listen to and last for, long enough that you can get done whenever you're getting done. So that's on
if
TV,
you're listening
football, on radio, baseball.
I'll agree with that.
there. Okay. Because Josh, of course, football, of course, but he also gives us our baseball and specifically Mariners report. So guys, are you ready for some football? It's time to talk about it. Rich, our encyclopedia and an unofficial secretary of keeping us in line, has said it this way. If I remember right, the Seahawks flew over the Eagles on Monday Night Football. We need a little Seahawks music, don't we, guys? A little Seahawks music. Here we go. Come on, Seahawks music. Where are you? Where are you? We can't find it. I'll put it in later.
You need the old Seahawks band playing the bunny hop. The way they did
there you go. There you go. But the Seahawks were 23-17 over the Eagles. The Seahawks moved one game ahead of the Rams in the NFC West. Was that amazing? Come on, Rich, bring it.
The best thing about that whole game. DK Metcalf gave Darius Slay nightmares for the next 10 years. And he may have even had to buy some rubber sheets this week. We don't know about that. But I would say that was I would say that was the biggest set of moments from Monday night. And we have to give props to the Seattle defense. On the Eagles' first 5 possessions, they were all 3 and out. So the Seattle defense once again continues to improve, guys.
Hey, and not just that, but Coach Fish, what we also saw was the Seahawks coming out of the gate. We've been a fourth quarter team, a fourth quarter defibrillator team, and we are starting to see the Seahawks play the first 3 quarters. That's pretty impressive. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I enjoy that high-paced football. I mean, granted, the Eagles or the Seahawks lack of, they usually go for it on 4th down and are fairly successful with good numbers. And we did that twice in the beginning, and we came up where we should have had 14 points in any other game to start off with our drives, at least 3s. We got nothing. So I mean, I like that they go for it on 4th down and usually get it, which is a momentum builder, especially if you're firing out the first 3 quarters.
One block on one play, though, by DK Metcalf, and I think the Seahawks put up 35 points on the Eagles. That first missed 4th down really changed the momentum of the game for a short time.
Can we talk a little more about DK Metcalf? I mean,
always
because he caught 10 passes for 175.
That's correct. That's correct,
yards.
Michelle.
Thank you, Encyclopedia, Rich. But this is funny. Did you hear this story? One of the defensive coaches came to Metcalf before the game and said, I was in Detroit with Megatron, but you're not there yet. Seriously? And Metcalf was saying, in my mind, he was thinking to himself, I'm not trying to be Megatron, but he said he went into the game with a bit of a chip on his shoulder. And I just want to say to whoever that D coach was, he can eat that
Jim
chip.
Schwartz.
Jim Schwartz. He can eat that chip. He can eat that chip with a little dip of defeat. Thank you very much. Let's talk Metcalf.
Okay. Look, I just got to put this out there. If you compare the first, to where Metcalf is in his career to where Megatron was in his career, and Megatron's great, by the way, Metcalf is better in pretty much every stat than Megatron was this deep into his career. DK Metcalf is a beast.
In fairness, Megatron never had a
Megatron played
quarterback.
on a terrible
A
team.
terrible team without Russell Wilson. So
Yeah, the Lions.
there is that. And I think when you talk about a former Lions, one of many former Lions head coaches out there, going up to an opposing player before a game and feeding his flame, it's just says a lot about who the Lions hires.
Well,
why they are where they are.
Can I put some perspective on this? Jim Schwartz also talked about this after the game and earlier this week, and he kind of said it was a backhanded compliment. But once again, if you're a professional assistant coach in the NFL or a head coach, you don't want to say anything that could possibly fire up your opponent. And DK Metcalf internalized that, much like Michael Jordan used to internalize comments from opponents and opposing coaches and use that as fuel. So that's what great athletes do. So
to the point of making it up sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Jordan would make
make
up,
it.
yeah.
Make it up if that's what you need to make yourself focus specifically on your job. In the last 2 games that DK Metcalf has played in Philadelphia, he's had 160 yards and 177 yards. So I think DK Metcalf, it's sure to say, does think of Philadelphia as the city of brotherly love.
I think the other thing too,
And the people that
that cracks me up. The other thing that cracks me up is that, I mean, he definitely gets under defenders' skins. And it doesn't surprise me that he might get into shoving matches with a few defensive backs. But when you have a defensive lineman cheap shotting you after a play, you've really got something going where everybody's rattled by it.
Hey, I wanted to also talk about the defense. Seattle's defense did start that game kind of allowing, they started the game with this grand thing over them, allowing the most yards in the NFL and the most yards passing. But my brothers, did the Seahawks D pull it off? And are we there yet? I'm going to start with defensive coach Tom Fisher.
Yeah, the defense allowed, after Seattle didn't get their first two touchdowns or 10 points, they allowed them to stay in the game and get back in it. It's winning on the road is tough. And when your defense sets a tone like that, accepts the challenge and comes through, that, allows the offense more time to get its legs underneath it, and then go.
Okay. All right. Anyone else want to weigh in?
Well, you have to go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we saw a significant outing from our defense this week, and I was really impressed by them coming out. And I just want to also give props over to the Eagles defense, because that team,
amen,
their offense is bad, but their defense came out with the fire, and they were popping off. That was really impressive outing from the Eagles defense. And just to say, the Eagles offense needed the refs to bail them out on 3 3rd and outs in order to get their first touchdown of the game. So
that grounding penalty that was missed was one of the worst blatantly missed calls I've ever seen. It was 3 yards short of the line of scrimmage. And you got the official standing there on the line of scrimmage watching it. It's like, what in the world are you seeing?
I posted a picture of that. The guy that caught the ball is literally next to the official who's standing at the line of scrimmage, and he's 3 yards short. Like, you can see it right there where he catches it. It was ridiculous.
My question on this, guys, we see this throughout the gamut on all sports, major league sports. We'll see a lot of crazy bad calls. Why, with all of the technology that we have, are we still seeing these things? We've seen it in Major League Soccer. Sometimes it can make the difference between going forward in playoffs. Sometimes, I mean, there were calls. I mean, we could talk about that on some of the MLS games as well. Why, Rich? Why aren't we?
They didn't want to curb stomp on Monday Night Football.
Well, I think let's take a look at that one specific call. I think the referees were just trying to get on a plane and get out of town as fast as they could. I'm just going to say that. I think that they have sometimes an idea in their head of a particular flow of the game, and they don't want to mess up that flow.
Okay,
and they also don't. And they also don't want to mess. They also don't want to admit a obvious error. I think
Okay,
we're in
I'll give that to you. But with all the technology that we have to be able to review and really look through things, VAR, why aren't we seeing someone intervene and say, "Oh, wait a minute"?
officials
Here?
are intimidated by
Drama.
the technology. They don't want to be overruled by the technology.
Yeah, I don't think that play was reviewable, which is
That
one,
that
But
also.
one major
some of
issue
these
there.
things should be.
But it's possible to over legislate too. I mean, look what they tried to do with the pass interference,
Good point.
pass interference stuff last year. It was a disaster, and the officials finally just rebelled and would not reverse a pass interference call. So, I am not against leaving some of the human element in the game with the officiating, because I mean, you have it with the players. You
Good
can't
point.
go back and fix the players' errors. Not
We
that I want
can't
bad,
go-
not that I want bad officiating. The Pac-12 had another black eye with that Oregon State game on
Oh
Yeah.
my.
Saturday with
Right?
Oh,
the officiating, like for
oh man.
the final 30 seconds took half an hour of what was otherwise an awesome game.
Yeah.
So
And
you can improve the officiating, but I think you can over legislate it where you're fixing
And
it,
the-
trying
the
to
other
fix it
point-
on the
Sky
field, which is
the
a
other
problem.
point to that is that we can often we want to see these games have flow if we're stopping every few seconds, but
Right.
man, it is frustrating that, I mean, all right, what do you do? So
Okay.
go ahead,
But
Josh.
We already have a solution to this that we've seen implemented that I thought was really good in the XFL, what they did with the Sky Judge.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're
You
right.
have a
The Sky
judge that's sitting there that's watching it, and then he can call down and say, "Hey guys, you got that wrong. Let's roll it back."
See,
And I
that's-
think
Except
the way we
for,
go
do you
with
guys
it.
remember that infamous game that Seattle Dragons played, where the Sky Judge, everyone's walking off the field,
Exactly.
and, so they
Yeah.
can even get it wrong as well. And by the way, I wanted to ask a question. Did you hear the news about Josh Gordon?
Mhm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Seahawks,
What's that?
No.
once wide receiver, he was banned for life for substance abuse, right? And it's the Seahawks signed him anyway, taking, we believe in him, standing by him. Maybe a story of redemption. The NFL finally ruled, and he'll be eligible for the last 2 games. What does that say, though, about we always like to get to the God story, the redemption story, guys. Let's do a little face off on this one. I mean, after all, this is an important story.
I think Pete Carroll is the king of redemption in the NFL. He knows what it's like to not have your dreams fulfilled or have a roadblock put in your face, because a lot of people criticized him as a head coach at a couple other stops. And he got a lot of criticism as the Patriots head coach at one point in time. So he wants to try to improve people. He's all about improving people and having meaningful relationships with people in a professional way and a personal way. And that's what he talked about in his book that he wrote. And that's kind of the philosophy that he has brought to the Seahawks. And he's really tried to influence guys in a lot of many different ways. And Josh, I think you'll agree with me here. That's one of the reasons why players play for Pete Carroll.
Oh,
Apparently.
absolutely.
There you are. I was like, I'm not sure if he does or not.
I
He doesn't
mentioned
agree.
this last week in my in my final shot, or the week before, I think, of how Pete Carroll and John Schneider have created a culture here that really engenders people to this organization. People love to play here, and I totally agree. I think Josh Gordon is just going to be another one of those stories of a star player that's like, you know what? When all else was down, this organization took care of me. They said, I know you have a problem, but I know you can get through this. And we've seen time after time again, people talk about how this place has been better to them than anywhere else. This place has quality, and I'm really grateful for that. Like I said, Pete Carroll, John Schneider doing a great job with that. Not everyone fits into it. I mean, we've seen the complaints from Richard Sherman saying kumbaya, doesn't like the meetings anymore, and it's for other guys. But
Yeah, we don't want to feel good about our brother. I mean, that's for kids. That's kids stuff. We don't want to support each other. We don't want to be a team. We don't want to support folks when they're down and they're struggling. We don't want to take people who are, I don't know, 3rd round draft picks and make something of them. I mean, come on. Who does that?
Well,
Thank you.
Richard just doesn't want to win another Super Bowl ring. That's all that is.
Well, I
Absolutely.
the Richard comment I think is just sour grapes. That's the only way to look at it. But
Of course.
but with regard to the whole Josh Gordon and Rich, I think your point is an important one when you say Pete is kind of the king of redemption. However, I also want to add the fact that Pete understands team chemistry. And
Excellent point.
he's bringing Josh Gordon into a wide receiving core that is established, and there's a really good camaraderie there. So he is going to come into a group of guys who are very dialed in. They're very connected with their quarterback. And so I think Josh is going to fit in really well there. I think Josh has humility from what I can see and what I've read as far as what he's been through. And I think it's a perfect place. And I heard Pete on the radio today actually talking about just how he's excited to have him join the team.
My question to anybody who thinks this is a negative, why wouldn't you want to see someone change their life?
Oh, there you go. Coach Fisher, do you want to weigh in?
Yeah, like you said, the organization, they bring people in and they really sit down and they talk to them and they get a feel. And I mean, they haven't signed everybody that they broke down and talked to like that, but like you said, it's a family atmosphere. They bring them in, they check them out. Okay, what are you doing with your life lately? Okay, maybe you will fit in here. All right, it seems really good, and then they either sign them or they don't. And that's what I like about this program.
Yeah, it's inspirational. You are listening to Sports Timeout on the MyMichelleLive network, guys. Let's take it out of Seattle. What NFL stories outside of our first love are on your minds today?
Well, you got to give it to the Pittsburgh Steelers, 11-0. They've got a good shot at going possibly undefeated.
You think until they meet us in the Super Bowl?
Super Bowl.
Till the Super
Exactly.
Bowl, yeah.
That's what that's
Well, there's
guys,
a big obstacle with Kansas City. I think you're looking at Kansas City and Pittsburgh as the two top teams there that'll face each other to go to the Super Bowl. Although Tennessee is capable of, they've proven in the past they're capable of knocking them off. I thought the story this week, though, again involving Pittsburgh, but I don't know if anybody watched that Pittsburgh-Baltimore Wednesday football game, but that was ridiculous.
I watched it for Chris' sake, and I was thinking of Chris, who often joins us on our roundtable that night.
Yeah, I mean, watching that there were just so many injuries that looked to me like the sorts of things that happen when you haven't been on the field for 2 weeks, and then you're going out there full speed, smashing into each other. And I just felt like, they kept postponing the game for safety's sake due to the virus, and yet I think they put the players in more physical danger, and some of them talked about that afterwards. I thought it was an incredibly gutsy effort from Baltimore, who were playing like 18 guys short. They had, the last guys on the practice squad active, and poor RG3 that I'd forgotten was even active in the league, trying to resurrect his career, and they even had a chance to win that game without some really bad clock management at the end of the first half. And
that was horrible.
And some questionable officiating on top of that. Pittsburgh didn't play that well, but I just felt like, if the virus is that big a deal, make Baltimore forfeit the game, because it sounds like there were some real breakdowns of protocol that brought this about, and just move on. And I think everybody would have been better off for it in the long run.
Well, I think, Brent, when you take a look at this, that's one of the rules that I think the NFL should have instituted, is if you do not follow the protocols and you fail to make yourself available for a game, your organization has to forfeit. And I would think that would have curbed what little problems we have seen with having to move games, because that would
even the Denver situation. I mean, that was ridiculous too, where they had to play with no quarterbacks. A practice squad wide receiver trying to play quarterback in the NFL. It's just, yeah.
I heard they signed the throwing machine this week. Is their next QB?
Well, there's a secret message out there that I actually flew to Denver for a tryout, but I want to put those rumors to rest.
You heard it here. You heard it here first.
Well, the Seahawks have actually put into
Or
place.
Tebow.
Yeah, yeah.
So Seahawks backup quarterback Dan Edling is actually quarantined from the rest of the quarterbacking squad for that very reason. Because if something, if one of them should get sick, he attends all the team meetings via Zoom or Skype or whatever, and so he is physically apart from that group, even though he's still trying to train and everything like that. But he doesn't hang out with them.
You know, what it reminded me of a bit is the strike games from, what was it, 1987 or whatever, where you had Jeff Kemp and Steve Largent coming back, playing against a bunch of, replacement players and setting team records and everything. And it's like you're running into some of those sorts of situations where New Orleans had their best ever defensive performance for a game. Well, great, guys. Congratulations.
Kind of as exciting as the Portland Timbers winning the COVID Cup anyway, along those same lines. But, pretty soon, if we don't get a handle on this, we're going to just see virtual football. He throws it, and does he virtually catch it on the other side of the Zoom meeting? So we got to get a handle on this, fellas.
Madden tournaments.
Madden, exactly. Xbox.
The NFL is coming to a TV near you.
Yeah.
Right? Let's go to
And
college.
like
What do you say? What do you say we go to college right now? What are your takeaways from last week's game? Think about that, because mine was watching the first half of the Huskies game, thinking that in the first half, the Cougs were sitting there at home wishing they were playing the Apple Cup, because even if their cheerleaders were the only ones not testing positive, they still would have had a fighting go at it. But to be real honest, as we watched the Huskies pull it off in the end, I was so impressed. I want to talk about that and some of your takeaways from college sports, but I want to give kudos. This is almost like a final shot for me to Jimmy Lake. I mean, that man not only is proving himself as a coach, but as a PR guy. He is so well spoken. He's gregarious. He commands a presence on television. I mean, he is a good pick. Good pick. So, guys, let's open it up. Thoughts, Tom? Tom, you're actually joining us on phone, and you're such a gentleman that sometimes I'm afraid we all walk over you. So I'm going to give you the floor.
Well, some of it I have to listen because I don't, like, the last couple of weeks I haven't really watched anything except Seahawk football, because I've been engrossed with projects at home, and so I kind of feel left out. But I'm going to get on it, but I have to finish some things.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair enough. So, takeaways from college football, guys.
Well, one thing I'm really fascinated with is watching the Big Ten right now, to be honest, and specifically the whole Ohio State situation, where they have been ranked in the top 4 of the college playoff football poll all year. And if they have any more COVID-related cancellations, they will not have enough games on their schedule to qualify for the Big Ten title game, which brings up the question, can you still make the Final Four if you don't even get to play for your conference championship? Now, to add to that intrigue, their final game of the season is supposed to be against their old rival, Michigan. And our old friend, Jim Harbaugh, who used to coach the 49ers, who's on the hot seat because Michigan's not a good team right now. They also have been having COVID issues. So I'm thinking, how nasty can this rivalry get if you decide, gee, we have too many players out to play this game against Ohio State that we're going to lose by 40 points. But if we don't play, we deny them the ability to get into the playoff.
They're going to meet in the parking lot and duke it out.
That would be fun. I'm just watching this and thinking, wow, I wonder if it's got to be occurring to some people, whether they're in actual, I don't know that Harbaugh could step back from that game, but I'm just saying that possibility is out there, and it could be a problem.
Well,
Like anyone
think
else.
about this, guys. The Huskies could keep winning and
Mhm.
not make the college football playoff based on the number of games they've had the opportunity to play. And the big deal about the Husky game is not the first half, but the second half. 3 turnovers by the Husky
Yeah.
defense and 24 straight points. Dylan Morris once again finds Kate Otten in the end zone for a game-winning touchdown. Huskies run the ball for 196 yards on the ground. I think that Pete Carroll would love 196 yards on the ground. And great
He'd also
coaching
love
job
he'd also
by
love
Jimmy Lake.
4 healthy running backs too.
And
Yeah.
he'd love a 2,000-pound offensive line and a couple of those guys on defense. Josh, great effort by the Husky defense in the second half.
Yeah. Thoughts, Josh?
It's weird to see the Huskies losing for a little bit there. I mean, on a Thanksgiving, that usually doesn't happen, but yeah, it was a great effort by them for sure. Gosh, yeah, I love the run the ball hat too by Jimmy Lake. That I think he had that in his press conference a couple weeks ago, and just again, and I'm not like Pete Carroll, I think is like thinking, hey, Jimmy Lake, after this is all over, you want to go out for coffee, like get dinner? We need to talk about this.
Can I have one of your 3 running backs? Can they graduate earlier?
Yeah,
slide him right in.
Pete probably wouldn't mind Elijah Molden for his secondary either. So
yeah, no kidding. They're playing well, and we see them shaking off a lot of dust that first week where it didn't look right. I mean, it was a good game, but it didn't look right. It didn't look like other college football that's going on for a while now. There was a lot of dust being shaken off, but now I think we're seeing them really start to come into their own. They're getting warmed up. They're getting ready. They're ready for real football now. And after that little bit of an awkward preseason, but it's good. I really like what we're seeing out there on the field. We're seeing tough physical football, and that's what we like here in the Northwest.
Well, the way they're playing now is exactly the way they need to play this Saturday against Stanford. 30, let's see, I can think of the statistics here. I think it's 30, 44 and 34 and 34 and 8 is the all-time record with the Stanford Cardinal. Cardinal usually come in with a very, very physical team. Jimmy Lake has the perfect team to go up against a Cardinal team that's searching to get back on track. And it's going to be one of the best games of the year. And the Huskies are getting their props, even though some people think that they're a little bit underrated as far as the college football playoff rankings are concerned. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's going to be tough for any Pac-12 team to get in the playoff, even if they run the table. The conference has such a bad reputation right now because the last 3 or 4 years they've underperformed on the national stage. So when you're only playing against yourself, it makes it tough to make that case. And when you are the first conference to have rapid testing available and the last one to actually start your season, I think a lot of anyone west or east of the conference is just kind of done with dealing with them, and they're really going to have to show on the field that they're worthy of a spot in the Final Four, and I don't see how they can do that with the way this season is scheduled.
Fire Larry
Okay, guys,
Scott.
I want
I
want to ask you guys. I want to ask you guys some predictions. We'll take it in college, just maybe our local teams as we broadcast with our hearts here from the Seattle area, but we'll widen that in the football realm for college and for the NFL. I'd just like to kind of go around and get some of your interesting predictions for your best teams, and we'll start with Garrick Payne.
Oh no, don't start with me.
Yeah.
I haven't had much to offer to this college football discussion.
Okay, how about
well, the Cougars get a game in. How about that?
Yeah, right.
Will they get a game in? There you go. All right, well, we can.
No, it's okay. But with regard to collegiate sports, I do feel like this season, I don't even know if you can count it as a season because there is so much so many teams who have such different situations and circumstances, and it's really, really difficult to have any kind of an objective standard because of the ways that we're in this COVID world. So so if it's from a college perspective, I have no opinion, but with regard to our other local sports here, I mean, the Sounders are poised to go, and I'm hoping you'll save some time for soccer.
Oh, we're going to do that at the end. That's the grand finale. Don't even go
all
there
right,
yet.
Good.
We can even talk about the Giants Seahawks on the 6th. They'll be Sunday at 1:05. They'll be playing as well. So you want to go college? You want to go NFL? I just want to get some football predictions. Rich Holstrom.
Well, I'm going to say that the Giants are going to be laying at midfield with a tombstone by their name Sunday afternoon. It's going to be another opportunity for the Seahawks defense to improve on their statistics. The Seahawks, for example, have now 31 sacks on the season. They only had 28 all of last season. So we got to give them props for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Danny Dimes is not going to be dropping dimes against this team. I think the addition of Carlos Dunlap has really
It's going to be Colt McCoy. So.
Was it Colt McCoy actually playing on Sunday? Okay,
it sounds if they're leaning that way, yeah.
Even better, or worse, depending on who you're rooting for. Yeah, like I said, Carlos Dunlap really unlocked Jaron Reed, the inside of that defense, really like giving Benson Mayoa time, and it's stopped them from being able to just kind of follow around where the blitzer is. Because before, we were trying to send blitz packages, and they were just watching. Where's Jamal Adams? Where's Bobby Wagner? We're just going to watch these guys and not let them get to the quarterback. Carlos Dunlap being there has unlocked this defensive line and this pass rush, and I do not see a defunct Giants team being able to stop us from getting to the quarterback or stop Russ from getting to the end zone. So
I love Sundays like this, guys. I love Sundays like this where I'm not going right. I mean, I just love it. Fish.
Yeah, I say Seattle has probably beat the Giants down probably 35-12. I'm saying, but yeah, the defense has really come along with the addition of the defensive end, and it really does, take the edge off of having to blitz Bobby Wagner quite regular. Although the package that they do is working. So having that defensive end to anchor the line, and fresh rotation of the big men down in the middle with the D line. We're gonna roll over them.
Okay, before we move on to the grand finale, and Brent, I didn't get a prediction from you. Let's go to you first.
I think the Seahawks never do anything easily, so I think it will be a little closer than we might like. They just don't. I mean, the Giants.
Wash your mouth out with soap.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
I think it might look a lot like Monday's game though did, because the Giants' defense is not bad. Their offense is a mess. So I'm thinking maybe like 27-17, pull away in the second half, something like that. I think the Huskies should win as easily. Well, I'll give Stanford my final shot later, but I'll tell you a little about what they're doing this week. But I think the Huskies are on a roll.
Before we get to the grand finale, hold your horses, Garrick Payne. Any other, we've got basketball, we've got the women's national team. I don't know if Josh is following marbles still, but, is there anything else that we've got to get out of the way this week before we get to MLS?
Gonzaga Baylor on Saturday morning. Number 1 and number 2 ranked college basketball teams. The Zags have looked every part of a Final Four team. They had a big win against a tough team, West Virginia team, without one of their big guys who got hurt. Not Terrell, but the Suggs kid, who was out much of the game with an ankle issue. But Mark Few found a way to schedule one of the most difficult non-conference schedules in the country. And it's just a team that just looks like it's on another level for most of the teams that they're playing. So they get a real test this Saturday morning, though, 10 o'clock.
Okay, anyone else? Come on. There's got to be something. Okay, fine.
I'll give it to the Mariners.
Okay. Oh, okay. Back up. Go ahead, John.
All right. A little bit of
We're
an
so
update.
excited.
They offered some tenders, got some people back on the team that were eligible for arbitration. JP Crawford, Tom Murphy, a couple others. So just again, seeing this team come together, seeing these guys sticking with the team, I'm excited. JP Crawford, like I mentioned, first Gold Glove. Tom Murphy, who didn't get to play this year because of injury, but really came alive last year, and that guy's a brick house of a catcher,
Oh,
man. I'm excited what he
yeah,
has. And,
right?
and Haniger as well. He was another guy that we got the arbitration for. He should be good to go in spring training after missing the last, I think, year and a half now after that ruptured testicle and back hernia, which I would not.
That's like
wish
the worst
that
injury ever. Right?
What a
Yeah.
combination.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Wow.
He back from death, basically. I could not wish that on anyone. But yeah, so I'm excited to have him back. He's penciled in to start right field after spring training. I am really curious to see what the Mariners do with Mitch Haniger this year. You're wondering, is he actually going to be a long-term piece of this thing going forward? When we have a lot of talent coming up in our outfielders there. We got Julio Rodriguez. We got a couple of really good guys there. So are we going to end up moving one of them? Or are we going to keep Mitch Haniger, or are we going to move him? These are some questions to really watch this next year, because I think after how he plays this year is really going to determine some of that.
It's a nice problem to have.
It is
Yeah,
a very
it's a
nice
nice
problem to have. Is he
For a
going to return
change.
to all-star form, or are we going to have two of the best prospects in the outfield for baseball come up and push him out and then get something for Mitch Haniger in a trade? So we'll see what's going to happen with that. Keep an eye on it as we go through spring training, as we go through the next season, what's going to happen there.
I'll give you one more, Michelle.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead and finish that thought if you had a connection on to Josh.
No. Go.
Oh, okay.
Go.
So here's a transition one from football to soccer. All right. Does the name Sarah Fuller mean anything to you guys?
Oh,
Yeah, that's a big,
yes.
big deal. In fact, that's part of my final shot, and
Okay.
good for this girl from Vanderbilt.
Yep. She is a soccer player. She came to Vanderbilt to play soccer, and she is now on the official travel squad for the football team. And she took a kickoff during the game, their last game, and she broke the glass ceiling of women in college sports.
Okay, so I want to take this before, and I'm gonna. I don't know, tease us a little bit more for the grand finale, but I really do want to take that on as a face-off topic, guys. Can women cut it in Major League Sports? That I want to do for face-off.
This week we've got a face-off, and they're going to face off against one another.
So, of course, we have Sarah Fuller, and that is a huge story. She is breaking the social norms to play in a Power 5 football game. She delivered the second half kickoff against Missouri. This is huge. Can women make it in a men's world where sports are concerned? Is there an inequality issue? Is there physical differences, or is there a place for women? Someone weigh in.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and jump in on this first. I wish that the first kick would have been better. I'm really happy for her that she got to live out her dream and kick, but that was also one of the worst kickoffs I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was a 30-yard pooch kick, and
Unless it could have been designed to be that, though.
well, it was designed to be that, guys.
You can't design a kick that allows the offense that's already up 30 points to start at the 40-yard line. Like that was a bad kick. Even if it was a squib, it's not supposed to.
Yeah,
it's not supposed to go out there. And she was bailed out by the return team grabbing it when it looked like it was going to go out of bounds and get them a penalty.
And that's why Derek Mason, the former coach, got fired on Monday. Derek Mason, their head coach, got fired on Monday. Vanderbilt is 0-8, and this is a disappointing example. It's a positive thing, but in a lot of ways it's a negative thing, because I'm just going to flat out say it, Michelle. She only participated in one play, and it was a pooch kick. She did not help her team score any points. There is no way you can consider that kind of effort as co-special teams player of the week for the SEC. The other player who got co-special teams player of the week for the SEC, returned a kickoff a punt return 50 yards, and helped the Florida Gators win against Kentucky 34-10. And those two things are not comparable. I'm fully up for women being involved in football or any other sport. But you've got to actually contribute something. And nobody should win an award if your team is 0-8 and loses 41-0.
Yeah, it was a participation trophy, and I'm all again. It's like when Obama got elected, and he got the Nobel Peace Prize, but he didn't actually do anything for it
before he was in office.
Before he was in office to do anything, he got the Nobel Peace Prize. Like, what did you do for the Nobel Peace Prize? It's the same here. She didn't do anything for it.
Well,
it's as great as it is that she is there. I don't understand the celebration of her as the special teams player of the week when she did one bad play and that was it.
I would have liked to
see it here as a woman. As a woman, I want to say that is it's almost embarrassing. On one end, I'm all for breaking glass ceilings. I'm all for giving women opportunity, but to just hand it to us like, well, we have to have our token chick on the team, or our token Hispanic, or our token this, or our token that. I want to be able to come in and do a bang up job, not just be there because I'm a woman. I want to be able to, if I'm going to compete in a man's world, whatever that world may be, I need to be truly equal, and in some ways, fine, better, and shoot for that. Is that possible, Garrick, given our physiology? I mean, we're not just talking what I identify as.
Well, I think it does cheapen the award when it's given for that, as Rich pointed out. When you put it side by side with a 55-yard punt return, I mean, there's really no comparison. And so, yeah, she should get kudos absolutely for what she has done and for actually being there and making that effort, but certainly not player of the week. And so
definitely.
No, it was kind of like Bruce Jenner getting a woman of the year when, he had to pay a lot of money to get sex changes. And, he didn't have to go through what most women have to go through. A successful guy, lots of money, gets a sex change as a woman for all of, 5 months. And all of a sudden, woman of the year. That's an insult. That was an insult.
But in answer to your question, Michelle. Oh, go ahead, Rich.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, Coach.
I think that it really depends on the sport, because and it depends on the person as well. So some women are physically able to compete on that level. And as most of you know my past, I spent about 8 years working with the military, traveling around the world, doing relationship seminars to help our troops to stay married. But one of the things I saw, and one of the things that is the elite special forces, most of them do not, they all don't have women. There are a few women who are now breaking into that, but there are specific reasons for that when it comes to the military, and if you're captured behind enemy lines and those types of issues as well. But from a physical perspective, there are women now who are meeting that standard. And I don't believe that there should be lesser standards if you want to join those elite forces. And so I think it's the same criteria should apply when it comes to professional sports. If a woman can cut it, it doesn't matter whether or not she's a woman. If she can do it, then great. Because I actually participate playing co-ed soccer, and there's some incredible women soccer players. And so and I think
we could have our U.S. women's soccer team maybe play for the U.S. men's soccer team sometimes. I'm just saying. But much like there are standards with firefighting, for example, different standards for women than men. I'm not comfortable with that, because if someone's going to rescue me in the fire, I don't care what their gender is, their background, their religious affiliation. I just want to know that they can do the job. Tom Fisher.
Yeah, if they can physically cut it, especially that type of job, whatever it is that, you have trained for and have earned, kudos on the way up, and you've passed all the tests. I don't see where that's a problem. If you have completely proved yourself on a with the requirements. There's just no way around it.
Okay, guys, I think we've put this off long enough, and I am biting at the bit and so excited about this. Can I just play the soundbite?
Of course. There we go.
Seattle!
Sounders.
Seattle!
Sounders.
That was
Boy,
pretty
you
pathetic.
guys have been as empty as, like these empty stands. You're out of practice. It's okay. This is the grand finale of the show for me. The Seattle Sounders beat FC Dallas 1-0, and they are ready for the Western Conference. If we go all the way, we'd be one of only 3 teams, I think, DC, LAFC, one more, Garrick, who has back-to-back cups. Anyway, forget back-to-back for just a moment. I'm kind of hoping for the first trio of MLS Cups. Like, let's win it this year. Let's win the next. I know it's looking ahead, but I'm so excited about our Sounders. And speaking of trio, we have the infamous trio of boom, Ladero, Morris, and Raul Ruidiaz, and everybody's talking about them. Really exciting, but they weren't the ones that scored the one and only goal. Garrick, you've been biting it a bit as much as me. You go for it. Let's talk about the game.
Oh yeah, it was an exciting game. But I think this is why a lot of Americans don't like soccer, is because it was one goal. But it was hard.
Yeah, but
fought.
It's defense. It's awesome defense.
Oh, exactly. No, but my point is
what wins games, Josh? Josh, what wins games?
Defense.
Thank you. Go ahead, Garrett.
But this is the beauty and why it's the beautiful game, because you score a goal and then you close down defensively. You work together, attacking, and just continue to put pressure on the opponent. And the Sounders did a wonderful job just closing out that game and just setting ourselves up for this conference final that's going to happen on Monday night now against Minnesota United, which everybody was shocked. And if you saw that game last night, I mean, Kansas City came out just as you expected them to. They were pressuring. They had several opportunities, just missed the goal by inches. And then Minnesota just turned it up and they started putting in some goals, and
yeah.
A halftime score of 3-0.
2 or 3 within 12 minutes. It's crazy. Oh. And another news story, by the way, did you hear what's going on in Portland? It's like a fire sale, guys. They are trading players like kids used to trade bubblegum cards. I guess I'm thinking that maybe it has something to do with trying to find something to do to distract themselves from watching games and watching us ascend to the top. But we are playing Minnesota. That game yesterday, as you said, absolutely wow. Now, I know that Kansas City isn't necessarily known for their defense, but when you were watching Minnesota, was anyone going, wow, Sounders, you better be ready. These guys look prime.
Well, it's a reason to take Minnesota seriously. If you thought the Sounders might look past their next opponent in the Western Conference Finals, it's not gonna happen. And that's what I like about the fact that Minnesota was able to do that to Sporting KC on KC's own turf, is that made the Sounders focus for this finale, the Western Conference Final on Monday night.
Okay. And Brent, again, like I said, it wasn't our big trio, who I think part of their magic isn't that they are these extraordinary standalone strikers, but that there's chemistry. They play as a team. Ladero, Morris, Ruidiaz, they're not afraid to give the highlight and the shot to somebody else. They take chances. I like that about them. They weren't the ones who scored. The one.
You'll have to tell me what was the name of the guy who scored?
Shane O'Neill.
Shane O'Neill, yes. his first goal in like 6 years in the MLS.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
just awesome. I think what
Such a good guy too.
I think what
I
I've
was-
enjoyed.
It was
go
a
ahead.
designed. It was a designed play actually as well. The Sounders had practiced that one, and it was a corner kick set piece, and it just worked to perfection. And again, you had Ladero on the other end of it, just setting it up as he does so beautifully. It was just a beautiful goal.
That's what I saw from the Sounders too, as you mentioned that, Derek, is they were playing smart with purpose. They really looked like they knew what they were doing, that that they were playing by design. They put a lot of midfield pressure. That was really something to behold. Guys, who do you think we're going to see in the finals?
Well, I think one of the things that is so fascinating about the playoffs this year is so many matchups that did not happen at all during the regular season. And
True.
so you really can't take anyone for granted, because you know, other than watching games on video, you don't know the matchups for real, which is unlike any season they've had. It's kind of like high school football playoffs, where you get deep enough in the playoffs, you're playing some team from across the state and you've never seen them before. You got some film, but you won't know till you get out there what it's really like. So I think that helps with the focus, but it also kind of adds an air of mystery to what they'll face on Monday. It's like, can we slow down that attack? You know, if the good Sounders show up, I think they should be able to win. But we've seen a couple of games. We've seen a couple of games this year. It was like, who are these guys? And they cannot afford that here.
No. Sounders will play Monday, the 7th, here at the stadium formerly known as CenturyLink. Now it's the Lou. Serious Lumen. Lumen. Oh, come on. It's Lumen Field, but who's not going to be calling it the Lou, guys? I mean, who is not? Serious.
Well, I'm still waiting for the crack house, guys, and we know what that's all about.
I know, because I mean, Climate Change Stadium here in if you're listening from Seattle,
they just pretty much guaranteed. They pretty much guaranteed crack house with that.
Yeah, right. So, in answer to your question, Michelle, I think that New England is primed to go all the way on the East, because of the fact that they started out with that great win against Philadelphia, and they just seem to have the momentum. But it'll be a good. Because they're the number 8 seed and Columbus is the number 3 seed. And so, I mean, Columbus is probably the favorite. And so it'll be interesting to see who the Sounders face. Well, hopefully the Sounders face. And here what I just did, the Sounders must not do. We must not look past Minnesota.
Don't take it for granted. We cannot.
A lot of people, most Sounders fans were like, oh yeah, I hope we get to face Minnesota instead of Kansas City. But remember,
careful what you wish for.
And my final shot is, I'm giving a little teaser on my final shot, but they've got Ozzie Alonso, who was.
I know who will be coming home.
Yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Let's get to it. Let's just go to our final shot. It is time.
Take a shot. And I am not throwing away my shot.
All right, it is time for a final shot. Garrick, you're raring to go, and you've got it dialed in. Let's take it on.
I do. 35 years old. An incredible story of this man who in a Walmart defected to the United States. The Cuban national team was playing in the U.S., and he went into a Walmart to defect. Because what happens is they would.
What's more American than that?
I know, right? They let the team go shopping. He played originally in Los Angeles, and then the Charleston Battery took him in the USL League One because of the fact that he would get more playing time. But he lit it up there, and then the Sounders found him, and he was one of our best, expansion franchise signings. Ozzie Alonso really was the glue, I believe, and one of the unsung heroes, and sadly was not protected when the expansion draft came along and Minnesota grabbed him. And he was injured much of the fall, which is, I think, why they didn't do as well as they could have throughout the season. but then, has come back for the playoffs and really makes such a difference for that team. So my final shot goes to Osvaldo Alonso.
Can I just read a quote? I'm looking up on my wall because you've seen a virtual background, but I'm surrounded by sports and Sounders stuff. We are all Sounders, and this is our home. To be a Sounder means to be a fighter. We don't give up, and we won't back down. We fight for each other. That was Ozzie Alonso, and that was the spirit that we continue with the Seattle Sounders. So, final shot, Tom Fisher.
Well, my final shot is out to the Everett Royals football team, which I'm the defensive coordinator for. They're having a tryout, which is official on Sunday, December 27th. And I also get to coach with a woman for the first time ever as an offensive line coach. And she came from the, what's the Everett team there? The Reign. And anyway, so I look forward to that opportunity as far as equal opportunities.
Amen. There you go, Tom Fisher. And I hope you'll let me come out and watch your first get together, or at least one of the first ones. That would be pretty cool. I want to just play off of that because my final shot goes out to women who are breaking the glass ceiling. We did kind of give an honest assessment of Sarah Fuller making college football history. Maybe not a great showing, but it did kind of break a glass ceiling. Tom, you're coaching with a woman. That's exciting. Last month, the Miami Marlins broke one of baseball's glass ceilings by becoming
That's
the first club to hire a woman as general manager in Major League Baseball. Forget that. In any professional men's team in the U.S., Kim Ning is it's a pretty exciting story. There was a fun story too. Sophia Smith, Jalen Howell, they used to play in kindergarten soccer, and then they were they're on the U.S. women's national team and debuting on the same day. But I bring all those stories up to say that glass ceilings in some ways are shattering. My final shot is to those who shatter them and are able to show, to make a really good showing as well. Here's to women who are pushing through, going for their dreams, ignoring the people and the customs that would try to hold them back. I've experienced those even fairly recently. And, for those of you who have made your dreams come true and made pathways open for others, I just want to say thank you. You have been my inspiration as we are going towards more with MyMichelleLive. Garrick? You're giving a thumbs up. That's so cute. We're on Zoom. He's giving a thumbs up. Oh, yeah. I just want to say thank you. Final shot, Brent Baker.
Mine is the Stanford Cardinal football team. If you've been following their ordeal since Santa Clara County declared a moratorium on contact sports, they cannot go home. So they've been in Seattle all week in a variety of hotels. The first day they got here, they were able to use the Huskies practice facility, but since then have broken up into position groups and been practicing around area high schools. And I know the resilience that you have that I wish I still had, that I had when I was 20, but they're, from what their coaches are saying, the kids' response has been, hey, we get to do a road trip. It may be for weeks, but we get to play football. We get to hang out together. It's all good, so all good. I think
attitude.
With that attitude, I think they'll still, with all of that, I still think they'll be able to put up a competitive performance on Saturday. But I like the attitude where it's just like, hey, let's just go do this. This will be fun.
Okay. Josh, you're going to bring us home in just a moment. Let's get a final shot from Rich Hallstrom.
Well, I got to go back to the Sounders and say Nicholas Ladero with an MLS record, 6 straight playoff games with at least 1 assist. Breaking David Beckham's record of 5.
Oh, awesome!
He knows how to control the tempo of a game and really knows how to set up the Sounders offense. So hats off to him for another MLS record, and hopefully the Sounders will beat Columbus in the final.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Josh, bring us home.
My final shot will be for Ichiro because he has been a member as a special assistant for this Mariners squad being around. He is also going to be coaching some high school football back in Japan, where he's going to be
High school football?
or sorry, baseball. For some
Okay,
young
it's like,
kids'
it's like,
dreams.
whoa, he's got even more going on than I realized.
Yeah,
You know,
there's a glass
he-
ceiling for you.
Yeah.
He is a guy that has some crazy work ethic, as we know. I mean, King Griffey Jr. talked about going to his house one day for dinner, ate dinner. Ichiro goes into the other room, works out really quick, comes back, and then has dessert with them. And he's like, "What are you doing?" Like, he's like, "I always do this. This is my routine." So he's but don't worry, he will continue to be around next year with the Mariners organization, while also dealing with coaching high school back in Japan, staying busy, fulfilling kids' dreams, teaching the next generation. But I'm excited to keep him around in the Mariners organization as well.
Well, guys, I want to thank you for being part of the roundtable today. I love you, my brothers. We talk sports, but there is a deeper story in the game of life. The best coach to have is Jesus Christ. You want to have him in your corner because
Amen.
that is what the game of life is all
Amen.
about. Thanks for being with us today.
For more fun, go to MyMichelleLive.com.
That was a great